Good afternoon, hockey fans. Hope you all have a good Friday. Well, the NHL regular season is in the books, and what an exciting regular season it was. Kind of disappointed in my Rangers during the regular season. Kind of disappointed that they didn't do better during the regular season, and that and that and that they're not going to the playoffs. But I'm sure there's going to be lots of changes during the offseason with the Rangers, whether it's the coaching staff or, or players. But it should be a very interesting offseason for my New York Rangers. As far as the playoff goes, Stanley Cup Playoffs is set. Here are the first round matchups in Stanley Cup Playoffs. Starting with the East, you have Toronto versus Ottawa, Tampa Bay versus Florida, Washington versus Montreal, Carolina versus New Jersey. That's the East. Now, in the West, you're going to have Winnipeg versus St. Louis, Dallas versus Colorado, Vegas versus Minnesota, and LA versus Edmonton. Those are your first round matchups in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, here are my matchups that I'm most looking forward to, because quite frankly, not all these matchups are going to be exciting and competitive. I'm looking forward to Dallas versus Colorado, because I could see that series going 6 or 7 games, because both Dallas and Colorado are very good teams, and both competitive, and I can see that series going 6 or 7 games. And if I was who's going to win that series, it can go either way. Like I said, both teams are very exciting, they're talented, both competitive. But if I had to pick a team, I would pick the Dallas Stars defeating the Colorado Avalanche and moving on to the conference semifinals out west. Another match I'm looking forward to is Vegas versus Minnesota. Now, personally, I think Vegas should at least win this series against Minnesota Wild in 5 games. Because quite frankly, Vegas is much better than Minnesota. So I'm predicting that Vegas defeats Minnesota in 5 games and moving on to the conference second round, which is the conference semifinals. Another match I'm looking forward to is LA Kings versus Edmonton. This is another intriguing matchup that I'm looking forward to. I'm picking Edmonton to defeat LA Kings in 6 games, because I still think, despite Edmonton being a bad team than LA Kings, I think the LA Kings will put a good fight against Edmonton. However, I'm picking Edmonton to defeat the LA Kings and moving on to the second round, which is the conference semifinals. Another match I'm looking forward to is Winnipeg versus St. Louis. Now, I gotta go against Winnipeg. They had a phenomenal season. Not only won the Western Conference, but they also won the President's Trophy. Now, on paper, you say to yourself, Winnipeg should beat St. Louis. And that may be the case, because Winnipeg is much better than St. Louis Blues. So I'm picking Winnipeg to defeating St. Louis in 5 games and moving on to the second round, which is the conference semifinals. Now on to the East. We have Toronto versus Ottawa. Now this is another exciting match because you got 2 Canadian teams going at each other. You have Toronto, who's it's a very good team. They had a good season. They're talented. They got a good lineup. However, you have Ottawa, who's also a good team and is talented. So I'm picking this series to go 7 games. And I'm going to pick Toronto to defeat Ottawa and moving on to the second round of the playoffs, which is the conference semifinals. Up next, we have Tampa versus Florida. This is another marquee matchup. You got 2 Florida teams going at each other. And this is not the first time that Tampa and Florida have faced each other in the playoffs. So I expect this series to be exciting because I think both the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers are both good teams. They got good players. I expect the series to go 6 or 7 games. However, until Florida is eliminated, they're still the defending Stanley Cup champions. So I'm going with my gut, and I'm picking Florida to defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games. Now we got Washington versus Montreal. This is very interesting because Washington has had a phenomenal season. They won the Eastern Conference. Ovechkin is playing out of his mind during the regular season. They got a good lineup. However, they're taking on the Montreal Canadiens. Now the Canadiens, they went on a hot streak towards the end of the season. So just because Washington is in first place in the conference and has home ice advantage, the Capitals should not take Montreal lightly. Because I think this Montreal Canadiens team is on a hot streak. So I'm picking Washington to defeat Montreal in 7 games. Because I think that comes down to that 7th game of who wins that series and moves on to the second round of the playoffs, which is the conference semifinals. And now last but not least, we have New Jersey versus Carolina. Now this is a tricky matchup. Now, for some reason, the New Jersey Devils cannot defeat the Carolina Hurricanes in the playoffs. I don't know why, but they just can't. They could beat them in the regular season, but they can't beat the playoffs. Now, as much as I give New Jersey credit for having a good season, I feel that this Devils team has holes. First of all, they lost Jack Hughes for the whole season, so he's gone. Now, even though they got Dougie Hamilton and they got a bunch of other players, this team has holes. Because I don't think they have a good ending to the regular season. They kind of stumped into the playoffs, struggle a little bit. So, as much as I like to see the Devils win this series and move on to the second round of the playoffs, I'm picking the Carolina Hurricanes to defeat the New Jersey Devils in the conference quarterfinals and moving on to the second round of the playoffs, which is the conference semifinals. Those are my picks. Who's going in the first round? So this should be exciting Stanley Cup playoffs. Like I said, it would have been more exciting to see my New York Rangers in the playoffs, but they just didn't have a good season. The finals, who's going to go into the finals? It's hard to say because even though you have Washington Capitals winning, who won the Eastern Conference, and you got Winnipeg who won the Western Conference and the President's Trophy. You can't assume that those two teams are going to go into the can't assume to see those two teams in the second finals. Because as the old saying goes, once the playoffs start, it's a whole different season. Look what happened 2 years ago. Florida finished the season in the eighth seed in the Eastern Conference and went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, only to lose to the Vegas Golden Knights. Then the following year, of course, we know what happened. Florida won the Stanley Cup. So just because Washington won the Eastern Conference and Winnipeg Jets won the Western Conference and the Press Story, don't assume that those two teams are going to go to the playoffs. Don't assume that those two teams are going to the Stanley Cup Finals. Because, like I said, anything can happen in the playoffs. Anything can happen. I mean, we've seen upsets all the time in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Stanley Cup Playoffs. So, this will be interesting. Stanley Cup Playoffs. I mean, I'll check it from time to time. What's going on with Stanley Cup Playoffs. But it's been interesting playoffs this year. Can't believe how fast the regular season has went. But don't assume that the Capitals and the Jets are going to go to Stanley Cup Finals. Because, like I said, anything can happen in the playoffs. Anything can happen. So, see what happens. Like I said, I'll check in on what's going on in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. That's I'm not going to watch it all the time because I got other stuff I'm watching. But I'll check in, see what's going on in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. And I believe this year it's TNT is going to carry the Stanley Cup Final. Because last year it was ESPN. This time it's TNT. So it's going to be interesting Stanley Cup Playoffs. I wish all 16 teams involved in the Stanley Cup Playoffs the best of luck. May the best team win. That's about it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow my channel with subscribers. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great rest of your Friday.